play. So I'm really excited to maybe see some of that, especially against someone like GuMiho, who does like to slow the game down.
There's a lot of talk about between these two. Let's start off on Inside and Out for game 1. Top right for Psystorm Gaming, he is the Purple Terran, GuMiho.
Down in the bottom left from Shopify Rebellion, the yellow Terran player here is ByuN.
So ByuN has been doing some very interesting things. Openers, I think especially, have always been where he loves to play around. Okay, so for Gasless. Yeah, he's loved to play around, but GuMiho can also do very similar things. So he is also loving to innovate, play around with a bunch of goofy builds. Maybe not goofy is the right word, but sometimes maybe a little goofy. I still think the 2-port BCs is always going to be a bit of a meme build, but that was TVZ, not TVT. But yeah, that's a drop openings, medevac action right off the bat. I mean, I'm sure we're going to have any best of 5, a couple of TVT that maybe are just more so like, okay, get to a couple of Ravens, a couple of tanks. But we also might have mech, for instance, from GuMiho, or we might actually go into battlecruisers. I don't know how likely that is. Or we might even have some of those really cool scenarios where they both bypass each other with those medevacs, create a little bit of a base trade action. These guys actually play a lot together, like a ton in the open cups. So they are very familiar with each other, but I don't know if that really helps or hurts their individual styles. It still feels like they play stylistically.
Yeah, I don't really. I was looking through one of their recent matches. I was like, man, they're just playing their own little thing at TVT, right? They're so versatile as well. It's not like they're stuck in their ways of playing certain things as well. If they want to mix up, they definitely can do. And in a best of 5, that's probably going to be pretty important. A few different openers, maybe one game where you really do try and maybe end it early. Obviously in TVT, sometimes that's not a choice you get, right? So, yeah, very excited to see what we get overall. As at the moment, ZG, we really do see. I mean, it was a little different in how we took our gas and so on, but otherwise, it's kind of heading towards a similar setup.
Yes, it is. You can see, I guess, the slight difference of the gas first versus gas second, with the Reaper being slightly faster for GuMiho, Factory slightly faster for ByuN. I mean, that's so far the only differences. Command Center is going to go down for both parties. Both of them are even potentially going to use the SCV. Of course, that one's going to take more damage first and foremost. It can only get so dangerous. That second Reaper is going to pop eventually. We even got the chase already beginning since GuMiho recognized surely that second unit's going to come out soon. He was trying to get away. ByuN knew he would try to get away, so on and so forth with the early game. A little bit of mind games, but GuMiho is moving on to bigger and better things. A Cyclone, not more Reapers and Hellions.
And he's so much faster with that command center as well, as this is not going to be good at all for GuMiho. He does lose one Reaper straight away, and the Hellion obviously can help to chase. Now, Reaper gets away for now, but it's not going to be back at home, so that build in CC might get delayed, and then ByuN's command center is going to get a ton of time to catch back up.
Right, which he really does have to do. Yeah, the SCV is going to go down 70% on that command center. Cyclone will pop and eventually push this back, but even then, the Reapers might be able to get a couple more SCV kills. Now immediately locking on to one, that's going to be killed. I think GuMiho, what happened to his, anything on this side of the map? No, nothing.
It died to the Reaper and the Hellion, so yeah, he lost the other Reaper too, so it didn't slow this down. And now our command centers are a little bit more evenly timed than they were originally going to be, so ByuN getting back into it a little bit in the one way he was just falling off initially.
Yeah. Actually, GuMiho add on another Cyclone and a medevac. That's what I was primarily looking for, was what is going to pop out of that starport. Or ByuN is actually trading it off for the tech lab. And you're much going to Ravens. Eventually, we'll see that happen. But the medevac is going to fly across the map for GuMiho and try and do some damage. And it looked awkward for a second, but he's going to be a Raven there for ByuN.
Yeah, get that Raven out. This is GuMiho, another Cyclone as well, so really just doubling down on this early aggression. I mean, I even more so expected this out of ByuN. I know GuMiho can be aggressive and a bit weird, but this is what ByuN loves to do. Two Cyclones in a medevac, get across, deal some damage. Another case here, he's actually going to jump on that for a moment, I think realizing now, probably time to get back, be defensive, because he's not set up to be the aggressor at all. Yeah, maybe his initial units were, but now there's a medevac out, double Cyclone. Time to get back home, time to defend a little bit more. It's going to be 3 Cyclones and then a medevac drop of Marines. Like, the potential is absolutely there for GuMiho to deal damage.
Very high potential, yes. Yes, indeed. I'm not surprised he didn't go ahead and get the upgrade, too, but it is definitely just a choice. So that's not going to bop like a medevac or a tank is fast, but simply put, 3 Cyclones versus just the one. I mean, it gets the lock on there. There's a lot of kind of miscellaneous units, if you will. And he's actually going to pair it up with the drop, guarantee the supply depot kill. and then control the map for a long time. That's certainly what you get with more than one Cyclone opener, unless he gets trapped in a really weird way. And that is kind of what is happening. The tanks are going to get locked on. It's the Marines soaking up that damage, but more micro ability there for GuMiho with the medevac as well. Loses one of his Cyclones, keeps 2 alive. Going to actually try and add some SCV damage as well. Is ByuN actually just going to go across the map here? He's going to lose a handful of SCVs, but he might be thinking that it's absolutely worth it because there's a kill maneuver on the side of the map.
Yeah, I think he's absolutely right to get across the other side. The tank is locked in there. Will eventually die as we auto turret just a moment too late. Oh, we still get a Cyclone kill as we continue over, like we say, from ByuN. What does GuMiho have at home? Big question. Obviously, the Raven, I believe, not here from ByuN, so it's not like he could, like, Matrix a tank and break up into the natural. So I think he's probably just going to have to stop here, but that's a cancel on the third. And yeah, that's just an unfortunate place to have that building. Not ideal in ByuN. I mean, that's just going to give him a little bit of an edge right there. He will have his own slowdown, though, as these two just continue to trade blows.
Yeah, but that's, I'm all for it, man. Some things to talk about in TVT that doesn't just mirror builds. So Command Center had to be canceled for GuMiho. Instantly restarts it actually in the same location, which seems a little I don't know, it's a little sketch. But it might just work out fine. We have some the highlights of how fast these guys are playing for that moment with all the micro. Yeah, the Raven had just gone left a little bit faster. The tank would still be alive.
Yeah, or the tank maybe could have even sieged in that situation. Siege and then maybe
it might, yeah, maybe should have. Yeah,
I think it lasted long enough. One of those moments where you're like, oh, I can just surround it with SCVs, but then it's like blocked in against the refinery, so you can't get the full surround of SCVs. Yeah, we'll see a very close moment. Cool to see it back from ByuN's view. I just watched that first series. We've got a lot of cool first-person moments, some replays and stuff. Production quality for TSL is through the roof so far.
Yeah. Hopefully you guys are appreciating it. I mean, everything's been improved for TSL 9, which is really awesome. We have the Chrono Boost on the production tab. We have the actual numbers on the income. I will not let this go. And you'll
so nice.
you'll see me casting in Atlanta and being like, yeah, well, there's not numbers on the overlay warning, so I don't know what you want from me.
We have a better UI. We're not using it.
Yeah, no,
it's been a pet peeve for a couple of years.
Yeah, it really has been. Anyways, so we do have actually going into a more normal TVT, right? Like a couple of little pokes and prods so you can get ahead, and it's GuMiho that's one worker ahead, a couple of army supplies ahead. Like, it's actually so damn close.
Yeah, it's just even, right? Like, barracks timings are slightly off. At the end of the day, this is a TVT right now that is going to come down to who can get a better position, who can get a drop in and catch the other guy off guard. Right now, it's even enough that anything can realistically happen from here on out. Even both players, I mean, ByuN a bit more aggressively positioned forward, but it's not like GuMiho is super defensive. He's just kind of taking his third base, so just going to kind of work from there. And yeah, we just kind of get into one of these TVTs, CG, where we get to sit back, relax, and figure out what the players want to get up to.
Yeah, one of these TVTs could go short, could go long. We just have to watch.
We love it when it goes long.
Yes, exactly. We want the 2 hours. We want the, I don't know. We want that.
We want the 2-0 into 2-2 into the 3-2 anyway.
Yeah, I was gonna say the label of just giving
the Ravens going crazy, huh?
Yes, that is a very bold maneuver. You pretty much don't lose all 3, right? Because even if they have a Viking or even 2 Vikings, they usually can only chase 2 out of 3, 1 out of 3, right? But in this case, it is 2 Vikings, not just 1. The Raven that maybe could have survived ran over a missile turret, and that means every single Raven died, right?
Yeah, 11 SCVs feels great.
Oh, that one got out.
Okay, this one was just out very quickly. But still, 11 SCVs feels great until you realize, oh, I just lost 2 of my Ravens. And even though ByuN is behind on army supply, the value a Raven provides is absolutely massive. So, gotta love this a lot for ByuN in that regard. Obviously, maybe not right now, something you can take advantage of. But, yeah, overall, it's definitely a little benefit. As now GuMiho's going to leap around the side. ByuN's Ravens are over there as well, dealing damage. Hello? Is this just the new game? Like no Ravens in the big fights, only harassment? Well, GuMiho's going to strike first on the third base of ByuN, and ByuN was backing away with his main army, as we are going to be seeing that third having to evacuate for a bit, and that's just making up for the SCV damage taken from the Ravens of ByuN, which I believe are now being pushed back / dealt with as we do deal with this drop. Well, I say dealt with. More auto turrets. The Marines keep on dying. The SCVs are cornered, but there's no Raven energy left. We do deny combat shields, which will have an effect on some of the upcoming fights. Oh, the siege tank, no!
Oh my god.
Wow.
Those auto turrets were actually pretty baller. That was so amazing, actually. 12 SCVs, a tank, combat shields, and then all 3 Ravens survive. Hello? That's a very, very good move there for ByuN, which I actually thought he might be in a worse position. That attack on his third base looked really scary. Okay, well now he's gonna kill the Raven.
ByuN, please.
Yeah.
It's like, yo. It's like, you know what? This was really great for ByuN. ByuN's like, okay, guys. Yeah, I heard you want a long TVT where no one can end the game. I got your back. Don't worry. Give up the Ravens and, oh, wait, he's still got one. No!
Yeah, that was, that also didn't have any use, right? The Ravens didn't have an energy yet.
Yeah, I have no idea what the plan was. Maybe, like, an auto turret on one of them, perhaps.
Right, exactly.
Like, nothing worth sending all 3 and 4, and yeah, that obviously wasn't ideal. He does have a drop up the right side, which is going to be spotted by a building depot, so that's good information for GuMiho. You can get in position very early on, although, well, he's simming across with just a handful of Marines. Remember, no combat shields for GuMiho, so Marine on Marine is not pretty for him, but the tank sieged up, of course, do make a difference. His medevacs have to leave for now, but it's all about the positioning. ByuN straight up through the center during this, but GuMiho's dodging to the left. ByuN knows this. He's got a sensor tower. Let's see what he can do as he wants to make this aggressive. He is deciding to do this as the tanks on the natural do get big shots off. The tank on the third will get some good damage, but not enough to protect the third base. That should at least fall. The tank siege him, but not really any protection. Can he survive against these Marines? It looks like, yes, he absolutely can. His own Marine's going to take a beating. There's still SCVs abandoned on that right-hand side as GuMiho has to pull the full army back to protect this, and now the drop comes back in to help clear out these SCVs. And then I guess we got to make a quick getaway as he just sniped down the Raven, lift up, and lose one medevac before we get out. ByuN, massive worker lead, but not quite the army if GuMiho can force a fight.
He lost a lot of those tanks that weren't actually, I mean, basically protected. There weren't enough of them to really protect each other. So that was the giveaway there for ByuN. Now down 20 army supplies, going to need at least, you know, either good tank positioning, which I think he might still have back at home, or to buy more time, which a triple drop into the main base is looking to buy that time. GuMiho going to try to respond with just the reinforcements, but actually it's going to get really awkward really fast. There are tanks available for ByuN that GuMiho cannot push through that choke. He might be able to find the 4th command center and move his tanks aggressively towards the natural, but he is still taking damage back at home. That main base still not cleaned up. It looks like this may not even get the 4th base. Yeah, not even going to get that one. GuMiho in a ton of trouble. The army supply doesn't matter if you're just locked out anyways.
Yeah, I mean, combat shield's so late for GuMiho. He actually waited a long time to restart it, even after getting the tech lab up, and that means the main base drop is still not cleaned up, right? So it's still an issue. It's going to be a problem here as well. Tanks are meant to be the only forte that GuMiho has right now, and he is just losing this battle. Extra Marines show up, but they're already hurt and everything. No combat shields. For now, he will send ByuN running, but for ByuN, he's got a tank line. He can sit defensively, and again, he's not the player that needs to make something happen. He just needs to survive.
That's actually kind of amazing how this isn't over. You know, GuMiho, he was completely locked out from doing damage, seemingly, and then the command center almost suicided itself again. But still has delayed the 4th command center, and the main base not being cleaned up all that fast. Thought it was going to be a much bigger deal. It still was a big deal, but GuMiho is going to finish combat shields, is kind of going to finish his 2-2. He's fallen behind upgrades in general, though, and does have 4 bases mining again. Not with many workers, but still, like, there's enough energy here in the tank to give him a chance. But he needs to take advantage of it. So far, not really being able to do so. Going to try and maneuver over to the left side, clear down these rocks, kill the sensor tower, open up opportunities for the next minute. But I think it's really all he's got is like a minute. And then you need to worry about the upgrades, you need to worry about the SCV numbers, right? Which are only going to get worse as ByuN drops on top of GuMiho's 3rd base. Might even get the kill here.
Yep, that CC is going to get chased, killed on the picture-in-picture. Head has fallen. Of course, we're watching the main point of action here, which is just GuMiho trying to find the push-in to get back in this game. He's not even building SCV. He says, no.
Oh, yeah,
GG straight away, and ByuN is going to take the first game of this best of 5. And honestly, he looked pretty darn good in doing so. There was, yes, some bit back and forth moments, but once he got that little bit of extra control, he really kept it. And GuMiho definitely made a few mistakes, like not restarting combat shields.
Right.
That actually could have been the difference of his Marines in the main, clearing up that drop, and then you just don't take quite as much damage. Maybe that's what offsets it. Maybe that's what gives you the chance across the map. So many little things that had that knock-on effect. So, ByuN, strong start. And whoever wins this has to have like a strong showing here, I feel like, because up next for them is Maru. So
that's right.
Yeah, you kind of need to have a good TVT now to have a good TVT later, right? So
that's gonna be
fingers
tough.
crossed for whoever can get through this. As GuMiho will try and take a little time to reset. ZG, I think the craziest thing is that both players just sent their Ravens across the map like they did.
Yeah, I understand in the timing that they did. I think that's not like the most surprising thing ever, but it's just. I think it was unfortunate for GuMiho, truly. You know, Vikings out of position. They haven't built Vikings yet or at all, whatever. Mr. Sturt he's in that natural at the very least. And I can kind of get it, but the Ravens from ByuN did a tremendous amount of damage. Then they went back in, and that was the weird part. That was the only weird part. Otherwise, I'm like, okay, I see how this works out. I know we talk a lot about the usage of Ravens, how using them like that in a harassment way means that maybe you don't have them defensively or even offensively. So maybe you get 12 SCV kills, but you could have busted a tank line. You know, we do talk about that. But as that game was kind of settling on 3 bases, decent number of Marines and tanks for both of them, very even game leading to that point, I could see why just like running in and gunning stuff down is like not exactly a no-brainer, but really could have worked out. And well, it did for ByuN, even though he eventually sacrificed them.
2 players head-to-head readying up for game number 2. Obviously, in a best of 5 in TVT, we got to see a good variety of maps as well, right? So, you know, we saw an Inside and Out, which is one of the shorter ones. So you got to be pretty quick about counterattacks. Counterattacks can hit very quickly. You know, you have that chance to just walk around the side and start the base trade yourself. As future maps load, like this one day to see, this is a much bigger map. There's a lot more space to create counterattacks with, but it also takes a bit longer to get them going.
Yeah.
So definitely potential to see even more mayhem is what I'm trying to say here on Day to See, but also the potential to just sit back on 4 bases a bit more easily sometimes if you do want to play way more defensively.
If they do, I think that last game was a good showing of what we expected from ByuN and GuMiho. How is game 2 going to hold? In the bottom left, down a game now as the purple Terran for Psystorm Gaming. It is GuMiho.
In the top right-hand side from Shopify Rebellion, starting off with a fiery 1-0 lead, it is ByuN.
So action-packed TVT, really, all things considered. Again, there are so many other TVTs where they do just... The Reaper Hellion stuff, okay, sure, fair enough. A lot of TVTs have that. But then as far as medevac, Cyclones, strolling that mid, getting the Ravens in, doing a bunch of damage, I mean, that's something that I just was like, yeah, okay, ByuN and GuMiho, just constantly punching each other and trying to stand up afterwards. And I do want to say that GuMiho, I feel like, had the first good strategic maneuver that looked like it could have been devastating. I said that I thought it would be, and then it really wasn't as much. But he did get the runarounds. ByuN lost track of that army that hit his 3rd base. I just really thought it was going to be so much more devastating. So I think the point you're making about the maps and how easy it is or how long it takes to circumvent an army and actually get some damage done with it is really important, because that was really what GuMiho I felt like had like most potential for, and then ByuN would end up winning him the game was a couple of those drops, really pulling GuMiho out of position at a very awkward time.
That GuMiho gas count is crazy. Not putting the extra workers in, even now just going up to 2. Just very slow to taking the gas, and it means he's not going to go Reaper. He opens a Marine, which for TVT is absolutely a little bit of a wild one here. Wow. Look at this. This is next level. First person.
This is freaking me out, man.
It's freaking.
Because they're both green.
They're both green, yeah.
I don't know.
Are they even different players?
Are they? Like, are they both doing the same thing? Like, your matchups are going to be confusing. Anyways, obviously just showing how fast they are, but yeah, going back to the build order, GuMiho are going to go for a 1-Rax high ground expansion, which means that you're kind of dangerous, but also kind of safe. So, and in this case, ByuN, yeah, has already scouted it, actually. Already got up there. Saw what was what's. 2 Marines. He didn't get the kill on the Reaper. Didn't expect that.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of wild just to jump the Reaper up there in the first place, right? It's kind of a risky move, and then Marines are going to be able to just grab a kill. Obviously, the Marines positioned correctly to grab it, so... Yeah, ByuN just kind of losing out on a Reaper. Sees that's a couple of Marines as well, so can probably get a good read. Okay, maybe a bit of a faster factory, maybe something expansion-focused.
Well, yeah, he saw the expansion, yeah, there you go. So he knows that much.
Well, he knows that the factory then will be,
in
theory, nice and quick, but it was actually kind of a fast expansion because of the slow gas intake, so interesting. I feel like, yeah, ByuN's maybe even a little bit like, what really is this? Because going in with another Reaper, I get that it's Marines on the map, so you're maybe not as scared as usual with going in with this Reaper, but yeah, just trying to keep up information, get some harassment, good pull away on the 2 hurt SCVs, and they will repair each other. That's what you call having each other's backs.
Teamwork. Unlike that Reaper that had no team. Isn't he making another Reaper beyond that? I thought he made 3. Maybe he canceled it, realizing it wasn't going to work out. Because I remember seeing it and being like, well, is that really going to help? Oh, yeah, it is, yeah. Well,
he's just chilling with the Hellions.
Now I'm going to ask the question. Does it really help? Is it really going to do anything?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, it's not just that GuMiho opted for high ground command center, restricting the amount of space you had to protect. it was also that their first Reaper already died. So it's like, how much are you really going to get from this? And if it was pure Marine, I believe a lot in ByuN's micro that could have been even cooler, but they did add on a couple of Hellions. And is once again adding on a medevac. Going to go across the map, cause some trouble. And can depend actually a lot on what the Cyclone first locks onto. That's going to change between, you know, 1 SCV kill, if that, or like 6 or 7 SCV kills.
Yeah, GuMiho is just keeping up very aggressive openings here with these medevacs repeatedly. ByuN being the much more defensive player, playing Raven already on the way, Cyclone, couple Hellions in the main, very aware, I think, of what is likely to come of this, as that's exactly where those Marines are heading. But you do also have to deal with the Hellions that can run into your natural at the same time. 3 isn't enough to one-shot an SCV, but it's absolutely enough to start causing chaos, as let's see this drop get into play. GuMiho comes straight in with it. Cyclone gets that lock on the medevac, wants to get out of range, but so far hasn't been able to. The Cyclone was obviously about to get that kill. The Hellions now just commit for as many SCVs as possible. This is where GuMiho realizes there's maybe a weak point, but the Marines are actually going to get SCVs in the main base as well. Yeah, I mean, ByuN's obviously just all over the place. He loses 6 workers. The army trade is okay, right? I mean, GuMiho was ahead there.
Get it.
Ah, no way.
The micro, though. Oh, you could have gone and helped.
Yeah, there's so much like lack of camaraderie between the units.
Yeah,
the fighting
seriously.
ones.
Exactly. 7 SCVs go down, so I think that would have been, you know, different if the Cyclone was on the edge, which is a bit more of a gamble, right? But if it was on the edge and immediately catch the medevac just like boosts back probably, doesn't even try to unload, and then it's much easier to do with the Hellions as well. But while it was in a position where it could react to either or, and it did help clean things up, it just meant that the Marines actually got some damage done, Hellions as well. Enough to really be like influential. Well, SCV counts, 36 to 44. GuMiho in a pretty decent position, but he is going into Vikings and tanks, laying that stim, so that's something that ByuN will have an advantage. So stim and combat shield is going to be faster for ByuN.
Yeah, obviously GuMiho will have 1-1 faster as well. The speed of GuMiho's third compared to ByuN's is obviously massive as well. That being finished, morphed into an orbital basically before ByuN's had started. That is a big deal, and I do like that he's not moving it out straight away, because I think he realizes that, oh, I've done good damage. I am maybe a little bit weak to some kind of a counterattack here, especially if he has a Raven and I don't. So yeah, just being careful of that.
What is GuMiho's barracks situation? Why hasn't he started stim yet?
He has 3, and he's going to 5. And
yeah.
Are they in the they just didn't stop stim? They just don't have add-ons.
Only recently got the add-ons. So that must have finished as soon as I like looked for them. But
yeah,
that actually really sucks. Then Stim's going to start about halfway done for his 1-1, but of course more importantly, Stim's going to start when ByuN Stim finishes. So it's not truly terrible. I mean, I feel like this is very reminiscent of a time where you used to have 3cc versus 2cc. You just would wait and defend patiently as the 3cc player, wait for all your upgrades to finish, then eventually snap back. But yeah, that is something worth noting. ByuN can be the more mobile one, can try and pounce a little bit more. GuMiho, he has the more technically advanced army with tanks and Vikings, especially the Viking count. But it just, you know, mobility might be a factor. Any Marines head-to-head, not going to go so well for him.
Yep, as we do have our Vikings spread now, GuMiho's still aware that ByuN is very likely going to be able to get a drop-off or something like that and really try and get some damage done. So he's really being very careful about it. Still no 3rd CC in position, as this Cyclone will just take anything it can get, not being just a Marine for now. And yeah, I mean, that's where ByuN can maybe get back in. Worker counts evening out. At this point, the worker count is beyond 2 base worker count as well, so you've got oversaturation for GuMiho, so ByuN will start to mine more.
That's true. Look at the numbers.
Yeah, you don't need a graph, we've got numbers.
Numbers tell everything. But seriously, you can actually see that. So yes, ByuN has, I mean, just by, I guess, being in the position where the army is that kind of question mark, you know, like I did the economic damage to you, but then I lost out my army units, so where are you at? He is going to be able to use that to, even without the army being there, intimidate GuMiho away from the 3rd CC. Now the army is there, and now he actually is physically intimidating GuMiho. This is a bit of a disaster. What the wrong time to take a 3rd CC.
Yeah, that was just, he just didn't have the information that these tanks were sieged up out here. ByuN does lose his Raven at least, so that is GuMiho able to get forward and snipe that down. As do unsiege the tank's going to move on forward. There's just not the vision right now. The Marines are just going to go in anyways, and the tank siege is already there. We're going to bait the Marines back into it. Yeah, this is just fantastic for ByuN, getting so much damage done, and GuMiho, the 1-1 just hasn't had a chance to play because, well, the Marines have just been dying so quickly.
What, it was 2 medevacs? Not completely full. They have a lot of hope though, and they have a big task actually.
Yeah.
I think they're going to do a lot of damage. ByuN is actually rallying in TBT.
He's got a big group of units on the natural right now.
Is it big enough, though?
Yeah, that's going to be the question, right? He is starting to pull back. ByuN doesn't need to deny this third base any longer. And it does look as though he's going to be able to push them medevacs away on the picture-in-picture.
Yeah, only to the main base, however, so there's still going to be a little bit of damage to be found from GuMiho's double drop, which again, it needs to do something. Like, this is the only thing that GuMiho had going for him. Well, he took a bunch of damage back at home, and it's probably not even going to be enough, because even while he does start to slaughter some SCVs, the army of ByuN is back on the offensive. Looks like it awkwardly sieged up, though. GuMiho, very, I think, in the know of how this was going to go down, was like, yep, just got to pull the SCVs, got to, like, nip this in the bud, basically, and that actually worked. ByuN was forced to take that seriously, ran away back to the middle of the map, gets one nice shot as he sieges up in the middle, but at the very least, this means that we have a little bit more of a game to play, because without that drop, without that pounce, GuMiho is just straight up behind. The easiest game to call ever. Now it's again one of those like, well, does he have enough in the tank to actually be threatening to ByuN, because this is his moment to shine.
6 HP medevac just sneaking out of there alive. Yeah, ByuN still with a little bit of a supply lead, but definitely is a big step back in the right direction for GuMiho. Currently working through a supply block, but beyond that, yeah, he really caught up. The worker count caught right back up by killing 14 SCVs. Put himself in a great position. So, fantastic stuff from GuMiho, because he had to do something. Like you said, it was a tall order for those 2 medevacs, and they absolutely delivered. So, now ByuN's going to deliver something similar, because GuMiho's been so set back. He hasn't got sensor towers and so on, so that is a problem. This medevacs might get unchecked going in.
Whoa, hello.
However, this 4th base of ByuN, completely undefended, jump on it, and that's an insta-kill.
Yeah, just, well, I mean, very unfortunate, right? He was probably hoping that GuMiho was going to be a little bit later to something like that, so the plants would have been done, SCV repair, and then also it would have, should have timed out with a double drop that might have distracted. Instead it hit at the exact right time. GuMiho gets a free 4th command center, really settling things up evenly. 2-2 is also going to be close enough, let's call it even, and GuMiho's even going to try and get a 4th command center on location as he cleans up both of ByuN's drops. Hell, the turntables.
Now the tables turn. Yeah, that's a it is a real turnaround though, right? I mean, GuMiho is able to basically say, hey ByuN, you know you're gonna drop me? Well, I'm just gonna deal with that very easily. Your drop does nothing compared to what my drop did. And yeah, now ByuN is playing basically an even game, if not a game he's behind in, as he tries to take some map control with this very heavy marine count. He's gotta be so careful though, because again, you just walk into one tank line that you don't see coming and you lose half your marines, and this really is just GuMiho's time to go across the map and fight. As GuMiho notices as well, hey, I've got air control, let's make use of it. Couple Liberators on the way out. Let's really be able to push your tank lines back. As ByuN feels as though he could jump there, decides not to. The only thing I see ByuN having in his favor right now is 3-3 started, while GuMiho does not start 3-3.
That is pretty big too. 20, 30-second difference. I feel like so often I pointed it out and like nothing happens, so I stopped pointing it out. But you start to talk about 60 seconds, 2 minutes advantage. Well, obviously that's going to have a lot of fights in it. Not going to impact this particular fight, but there is a depth of tanks that GuMiho can't really contest with Little SimCity and the ramps as well. I mean, I think, you know, I kind of gave some credit to ByuN saying, like, well, the timing didn't really work out to him to save his 4th base, but he also just kind of made a huge mistake. There weren't really any scouters for ByuN. He tried to fix it almost immediately after, but GuMiho is just like a train running through, so ByuN's pretty much blind on the map other than the drop and trying to track the actual main army with scans, and his sensor tower is still up, but maybe not for very long.
Double drop gonna die. A few marines of GuMiho intercept it as it tries to leave, so GuMiho gets another big victory. And with the Liberators, you start to force these tanks to unsiege, and ByuN is gonna go forwards and just try and find a position. The drop on the main denied by the marines being there. But you can't fall the way forward, so now they are actually going to get an unload. And what does ByuN really have to defend this? Without any heal, and his marines are going to die so quickly. He does have some tank support, but he just can't hold these tanks for long enough. 1 and 2 go down. More marines showing up. His own Liberator is trying to siege as the medevac's going to lift and go elsewhere. At the same time, ByuN is counterattacking though, and he's going to be looking for damage himself, but his tanks are going to get caught here. Liberators can siege up as well. Well, ByuN has serious damage to do across the map. I just don't see him finding it.
If there's one tank on the high ground, which I believe there is, yeah, ByuN's army is going to be destroyed, and there you have it. GuMiho able to put a point on the board, but it didn't really look that way in the beginning, did it? Like, he pulled this game back to actually make it 1-1. That was even a bit sketched towards the end game, too. If he didn't have a tank on that high ground, I do wonder if the run-by from ByuN could have also, again, made us have a bit of a complicated TVT, a bit of a base trade, perhaps, but looks like GuMiho had just enough back at home and secures victory on game 2.
Really fantastic series of events there for GuMiho. Just the double drop did more than what it needed to do, and then he was able to kill off the 4th base, which was one of the advantages ByuN had going behind all this. And then ByuN's drop gets dealt with so well.
Yeah.
That knock-on effect of things is just, first he disables some of the advantage ByuN had, then he disables all the advantage, and then he puts ByuN behind because ByuN loses so much in trying to get damage.
Yeah.
And just kind of led to GuMiho being able to control that game so heavily. So it does turn to be 1-1, and obviously, yeah, for ByuN, a little frustrating. You get ahead like that. It is TVT, right? This matchup can swing and turn, but in theory, you should still be able to play from an advantage and play advantages out. And you really let this one slip away a little bit.
Yeah, the big problem was losing that 4th base so easily. It was so easy, too. There was no punish. But he was, I think, theoretically capable of bringing it back even from that point, and it still was just, it was more understandable, like, okay, this happened, and this happened, this happened. But that 4th base was huge. I mean, usually we try to consider what could have been distracting or done well by the other player to force an error, right? ByuN might have had a Marine looking over there, but then GuMiho brought a Marine over too, or 2 Marines, right? In that classic scouting battle in TVT. Like, that could have happened, we just missed it. But, I mean, I would not be shocked. Pros make mistakes too. If ByuN just didn't get there, he was maybe thinking, okay, I got to worry about my 3rd base. Absolutely, he was sieged up there. Then I think he might have also noticed his lack of medevacs, because I was going to bring that up, but then the 4th base went down. That was a little more important. And just like, I was like, oh, Army on my 4th. That's awesome. Cool. But it was a huge mistake that really did take away his lead and take away a lot of momentum too. So he was forced to play a little bit more on his back foot. But game number 3 is underway on Stargazers. In the top rights for Storm, he is GuMiho.
And in the top left-hand side, our yellow Terran player from the Shopify Rebellion is ByuN. I think I have a psychic ability with our observers. I was about to ask for cheeky Control X, but they already did it between the intros.
Or they're just good observers, and they knew that there was a problem.
It's definitely psychic.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess since it is Stargazers, it's arguable which one's correct, right?
Left versus right. Left is on top. 100%.
100%?
100%.
No argument?
No, I know. 100%. Anyone will tell you that. You don't agree? You're not bothered?
I don't care, I guess.
No, I think most people that care, I think, go left, right, top, bottom.
I guess that makes sense because that's how we read.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay. What if I'm that much of like a weeaboo, where I'm like, no, Woody, I read right to left?
Well, I appreciate your opinion, CG, but
you're just wrong.
Well, I didn't want to say it, but if you admit to it yourself.
It's fair. Oh, okay, so we got 2 racks coming in here for ByuN, only 1 in proxy, so as dedicated. Still potentially lethal if the defending Terran A is going for particularly greedy build.
Which he is.
Which he is, and they mess up their defense. Because I do think that's still a big part of it, with this not being the super dedicated proxy 2 racks, is that it really does, depend on the build and the control of, in this case, GuMiho is going to be on the defensive. So that could come down to like literal control, like a macro battle goes poorly for GuMiho, doesn't pull the SCVs fast enough, something like that. Or it could be like he sends his first Reaper out and then has to come back home awkwardly, which is probably what is going to happen, right? But that already starts you off on a particularly difficult position.
Yeah, ByuN's Reaper, his first one going down through the center, then he'll have a second one, and together against the Marine that will be defending, not ideal. And yeah, the GuMiho pretty much has to pull the Reaper back home because it doesn't really matter if he gets 1 or 2 SCVs. What ByuN is going to do is going to be way more because ByuN can also just pop out 1 Reaper defensively, and then he is kind of fine. So getting ready to go, he runs up, he sees just a Marine there. Yep, that's an insta-kill, right? And there's only another Marine coming out of that barracks at that point. So we get rid of that, and then you got free reign on the SCVs for a while. The factory's late because it's a 1 gas expand. So this is pretty much the worst case scenario, and yeah, GuMiho is not in a great space. Did his Reaper die as well? He's got something in the main base. I'm not sure if that's the Reaper.
It's an SCV,
very AFK. Okay, there's the Reaper. And he actually does get rid of 1 of the Reapers. The other goes low, but now he loses a Reaper in return, and the Hellion only just started. Like, I believe he gets 1 more Reaper again, but still just going to be a ton of SCVs going down. And yeah, if the Hellion was any sooner, but again, just a super quick expansion. In fairness, ByuN didn't start and expand, but ByuN is also just going to get the GG because GuMiho knows that's too far behind to play from.
Absolutely, absolutely. Really, the only thing I could have made that different is if the Reaper stayed at home. I actually wonder if in that type of game, too, a second Reaper would have been better. So usually what it is that the first Reaper, it's almost guaranteed in TVT, right? And then a Marine afterwards can be good because the Marine is a faster builder. But in that case, because it just died instantly anyways all alone, it's one of those weird worlds where give it an extra 10 seconds, and the first Reaper comes back home to be with the Reaper that then pops out.
Yep.
Yeah, that might have been another big difference that could have happened.
Yeah,
but
well, the Reaper can stay alive in that situation. Right?
Yeah,
So Reaper number
and
2
run away.
pops out, runs away. Second Reaper comes back, and then you have an SCV fight. The Marine just adds nothing. It really doesn't in that scenario.
Exactly.
I can understand like Marines when you're already holding the high ground, like with a Reaper.
Yeah.
Because then you really do just want firepower. SCVs are pre-pulled. But yeah, in this case, the other Reaper probably would have been much, much better. As ByuN gets himself to a 2-1 lead here in this best of 5 so far.
Yeah, very cheeky build there from him. GuMiho did try an SCV scout, right? Try and get the intel, make sure he was okay with what he was doing, but still ended up being very awkwardly timed with the Reaper not being in position to help out, the Marine dying so darn quickly. You know what? I'm also kind of glad that ByuN did that, because that was also perhaps reading into that second game where once again GuMiho tried to go for a 1 Rax expand. It's like, well, it's Stargazers now, so there's like a safe base back there, so he's probably going to do that again. So that was just a nice best of read there from ByuN.
Yeah, good little adaptation during the matchup here so far. ByuN will be sitting up 2-1 as we go to a quick break. We'll come back with game number 4.
Welcome back, everyone. We are getting into game number 4 between ByuN and GuMiho. ByuN now leads the series 2-1 after a cheeky 2 racks, 1 barracks and proxy, but still 2 racks.
A cheekle? Is that like a cheeky
Cheekle.
little?
It's a cheeky chuckle.
Cheeky
Cheekle.
Cheekle, okay. Cheekle to take the game 3 victory. And yeah, I mean, plain and simple, right? At TVT at some point we do see proxy racks, and this time it just went in favor of ByuN. It was pretty simple. Not really much to dissect about it.
Well, I kind of already did. You know, again, like the difference there is either, well, a completely different build order from GuMiho, or maybe again that second Reaper would have popped out in a more manageable way, or I guess the very last option would have been like, and you know, there's no way you could have pulled the SCVs fast enough. No, it's actually not possible, I don't think.
Without knowing, yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, you guys get the picture. Like, it was pretty simple when the setup was what it was, and ByuN just had to execute, maybe let up the main base pretty easily, but that's about it. So we have a Tropical Sacrifice for game 4, and in the top right, sending out an SCV, it is GuMiho.
Oh, this is going to be fun. Because we've actually got a couple SCVs going out from different players. Bottom left-hand side from the Shopify Rebellion, it is a ByuN. And are we going to go different routes so we don't see each other? I believe so.
This is the...
ByuN, GuMiho definitely noticed because he pulls back. Does ByuN notice? Yeah, ByuN noticed too. Okay, so cancel the proxies, guys.
No one does it?
You know what they say? 2 proxies make a non-proxy.
You're the mathematician, man.
Yeah, well, if you count a proxy as a negative, turns into positive, no proxy, macro game.
Yeah, I guess so. I was already a bit surprised that GuMiho would have tried, just because ByuN is more, well, apparently, you know, most likely to go for a factory expand, which doesn't mean that a 2-rax doesn't work or a proxy rax doesn't work. It's not as usually a game ending, I suppose. But yeah, they were going to try, and then they both found each other, and they didn't want to play that type of game, because I do feel like someone could force it. I actually feel like GuMiho, yeah, he's going for 2 barracks. Like, someone could force this. It's just that when you are talking about having barracks in different locations and trying to track, like, where the Reapers are coming from, where they're going, that could be difficult even for you, as well as tracking your opponent. So it's going to be still a little bit more simplified with GuMiho's barracks being at home, coming from one different direction. But what this means now is that ByuN could send his Reaper across the map, think, oh, you're doing the same thing, and then get that bopped. Suddenly GuMiho's on his side with 4 to 5 Reapers, and that could get kind of weird.
Yeah, the good thing for ByuN at the very least is Fast Factory should be on the way. Double gas is up, and that gives you access to that Hellion, which GuMiho was just so far away from in that previous game. So ByuN is going to be able to get himself there. We will see what he does with his Reaper, because that is the real talking point right now. GuMiho with the SCV scout, almost a bit of a feint as well. It's like, you know, in a way, it's like double checking you're not proxying me, but really it's like, I want to make sure what you're up to, which to ByuN sort of says, hey, I'm not doing anything like super like just greedy, right? Like, I'm sort of just playing, or it says to him I might be being a bit greedy because, you know, I want to know what you're up to. I want to know what you're doing, when in reality he's playing 2 Reapers. He doesn't really need a scout. Right.
That kind of scout is usually more so a signal of macro. It's kind of the simple way of putting it. Of course, not always, but yeah, it kind of hints towards it perhaps. And it's really will it get awkward if ByuN used his first Reaper and it died. With 2 Reapers, if he's really controlling them quickly and they both return home, I'm not as worried. But there's also a chance maybe 2 Reapers die. No, it shouldn't happen. So yeah, I think ByuN's going to be okay here, but maybe the amount of SCV kills, kind of the one that were in question. Yeah, quick reaction.
This is pretty good for ByuN. He's going to have a Hellion out in a moment as well, so he should be able to guarantee the kills on these Reapers without too much damage being done. In fact, even better if you go without losing anything. This entire build of GuMiho is really falling apart. You get 1 SCV, which is okay, but obviously your 2 Reapers down from a pretty heavy commitment. Your factory is super late here. The bunker is a necessity because if your opponent shows up with Reaper Hellion, you've got, well, a Reaper or 2. Not going to be great, so yeah, looking good for ByuN.
Yep. It is good for ByuN. But GuMiho can, I mean, use this opener to then go into a more mid-game control build, which, 2-on-1. So I think there's still potential there, but yeah, certainly as far as the openers went, it's a little bit awkward on the side of GuMiho. A faster command center could help ease the awkwardness, and then again, what can happen with whatever that starport pumps out.
Yeah. This is going to be one interesting thing is that ByuN just goes that fast second barracks, and I don't mind it because in my eyes, I'm like, well, yeah, your opponent's on 2 racks already, right? Skip the starport. You don't need the starport if you don't feel like you can be aggressive. And it just stops him from getting super far ahead in the bio game.
I'm trying to think through this response, because so much more typically we would see ByuN, someone in ByuN's position, just go up to a 1-1-1 and just continue there. So the 1-on-1 gives you really, like, it's tech heavy. So there's a lot of, or not a lot of, there's a few important units of Ravens and tanks, really, where any 2-on-1 or 3 racks or whatever would just give you a lot of low quality units. And that's fine. Both ways can be okay to play, but historically TVT has favored the former rather than the latter. And occasionally you'll see like a time have like a 2-on-1 phase of ByuN, certainly a 2-on-1 phase. So perhaps not that surprising to see it from ByuN opting to go for it, anticipating it perhaps from GuMiho. He might just not want to be the one to play defensive, because that is not ByuN.
Yeah, I mean, ByuN probably sees this as like, oh, cool, we can play a no-Raven game. We can just run at each other and jump on tanks and all sorts. That sounds amazing. So yeah, maybe ByuN just saying, yeah, this is the kind of game I love to play. And it's a very, it's a rarity that we get to play it. So let's go play something a bit different this time. As you do see, of course, the Simback getting close to finish on either side. There's the 2 medevacs on the way out from ByuN. This is interesting because ByuN, I believe, got a few more Marines out early because GuMiho got that faster starport for a Viking. And so just in general here, ByuN's Marine power is going to be pretty heavy, but he's not going to be as good on the tech, so it really depends on how the fight happens and where the fight happens, as right now ByuN is just looking around to see if he can find anything.
And then what is GuMiho scouting as well? I know we're looking at first-person view, so we'll check it in a second, but as much as ByuN, I think, is more likely to be guessing correctly that his opponent would be doing 2-on-1, which also is not guaranteed. We have some people open to barracks Reapers, then actually just still go into more of a 1-on-1 setup like Ravens and tanks. But anyways, like, he'd be okay thinking this is what his opponent would follow up with. I don't know if GuMiho realizes that ByuN isn't going to be maybe on the defensive. Like, this could be a situation where ByuN might anticipate double drops, have some defense, and GuMiho doesn't, because it is actually such a similar build otherwise. Looks like the positioning might be okay. I mean, forcing him to unload just with that Viking, which barely survives, by the way, is actually quite good for GuMiho. It means his main base is not going to be dropped on, but maybe it doesn't matter. Oh, no, a tank is in position. Yeah, that definitely matters.
Tank's in position. I don't mind ByuN giving it a go there because obviously he knows that GuMiho's medevacs were on the map. They ran into each other.
Right.
That's why they pulled back. And so, yeah, I don't mind him giving it a go. Sees a tank, backs it up now, knows those medevacs are likely still out there. So just get home, make sure you can defend this, which I think at this point he's close enough to being able to do. He is just going to be a little bit behind on +1 ByuN, but as the Marines show up here, +1 isn't finished just yet. He pushes this back, and overall, GuMiho has a little SCV lead, all said and done. Kind of gotta say that I kind of like how it is for GuMiho.
Oh!
No! Okay, not the full medevac at least.
Yeah, at least one's still gonna be out on the map. So not totally game-breaking. GuMiho does have that 6-worker lead, but he's going to be, well, not exactly behind on the upgrades. That's actually gonna be quite similar. 3rd CCs, no one being as greedy as putting them on location. Similar. Even this GVT. You're bringing up Ravens in this matchup, and I do want to remind everyone that there is a TLO true or false happening here, which I think he said that...
GuMiho would build more.
GuMiho would build more?
Which is currently false,
that makes sense, yeah. Yeah, I think it's false. And no one's building Ravens in this matchup yet, anyways. We have not gotten to the supreme late game where everyone's building all types of Ravens.
Yeah, that can flip in a second. If we get one late game where everyone's building Ravens, then it's really up for grabs for anybody. As good scout on the Reaper Heli, and just seeing this wanting to move out, seeing that GuMiho was thinking of being aggressive. A couple of grenades don't really do very much. I mean, these Marines honestly stimming and chasing. It's health that's going down. It's not like GuMiho has a whole bunch of medevac.
Gonna look at the unfortunate. We're gonna highlight someone's really terrible situation.
Yeah. Yeah, a little bit rough just not watching. Obviously back at home, Macron. A little bit of a tough time as we do see the units of ByuN just coming back around the top. And GuMiho is on the other side of the map right now. So ByuN has once again lost track a little bit of where GuMiho's army is at. ByuN's about to have a +1 armor upgrade lead as, GuMiho's already going to jump into the main base. And this is going to be a moment to figure out because, well, ByuN is kind of coming back home. His medevacs in the middle of the map don't know what to do for the best. It feels like he's got a couple Vikings at least, but I mean, on the start, this is very bad for ByuN, yeah.
This is like game-ending bad.
Yep.
I love the SCVs. They pulled to the tanks and went, nope. Nope, 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 nope.
Yeah, ByuN's had so much indecision, by the way. He's just sent his medevacs forward again, but this was like, do something with them. Yeah, I mean, you got to decide. I could understand immediately pulling them back, but the ping-pong effect is never good, right? It's never the desired result, so yeah. Is this game ending if ByuN can do something across the map? I know he's only sieging up to like control the natural a bit, but that might be enough to kind of make some stuff happen. The natural's only defended by a few Marines, actually, so yeah, maybe.
It's hard to call, man. Yeah, it still looks like a much worse position for ByuN, as his production is at least somewhat camped. His mining's a little bit camped, but look at that unfortunate timing on the tanks. They did not get nearly as many shots. It did look like in the situation, ByuN was eventually going to push that back anyways. He was the one adding army on that side of the map, right? Makes sense. And he was able to get a good concave with the amount of space that it opened up. So it was inevitable that GuMiho was going to be pushed back, but it just seemed like he was going to do more damage. Again, about half that mining was denied. SCVs were pulled off anyways, and a little bit of the production was being hit too. But GuMiho also having some trouble back at home, now coming in for his own takedown of the drop. So a little bit of tit for tat, and now we've evened up on the overall supply, but GuMiho still has 10 more workers. Just has to get on location. That is the big question right now. ByuN only just now finishing his 3rd CC.
Yeah, that's a big deal, right? In a way, this overall contain for ByuN did a lot because keeping the 3rd CC away from GuMiho helped him to kind of stay in this a little bit as GuMiho just spotted the clip of that medevac. He actually loads up because I think he wants to try and beat ByuN to the main base. So ByuN will just land for the 3rd. I don't hate this, right? Because that 3rd CC could genuinely be in some trouble here. We'll have to lift off. There's more Marines to unload. There's one tank to protect from the high ground. If this 3rd dies, I think this is worth committing for.
Oh my
you have to eat one tank shot. The 3rd base goes down. And ByuN is going to love this with his own 3rd now finished. Just needs to not lose it to something like this little medevac drop, and that seems very achievable.
Yeah, right. I think that is okay. It does lose 2 Vikings, which might be an issue later on. This drop could come back and maybe slaughter like 10, 12 SCVs before ByuN realizes. But there you have it. ByuN having lost his 3rd command center at one point and then having to rebuild it. So then times it out very well with losing, killing GuMiho's 3rd command center. So now we have ByuN in overall the better economic position once he's transferred his SCVs anyways. He's yet to do so. And GuMiho is, once again, forced to do something in this game, which he's got an opportunity for 2 more minutes, let's say that. And I think a lot can happen there. Clearly, it's already been that type of TVT, but it does need to happen.
Yeah. What's funny is GuMiho relocates his main, which I don't disagree with, but it means the slight SCV lead means nothing because he won't have enough patches to actually put all the SCVs on. So very minimal effect there compared to still mining the main base and getting that 3rd online. As ByuN actually just finished a +2 armor, which changes that fight.
That's funny. It's not usually armor that finishes first either.
That's a very ByuN thing, isn't it?
Yeah. Something about his hotkeys, man. 2-2 is going to finish a bit faster for GuMiho when it finishes, but that's still about 25 seconds to go on that. And then the timing between that and ByuN's +2 is not large. So but it's so about right here, right now, that even 10 seconds difference could be huge. GuMiho is absolutely looking for a fight. Just so difficult to do. Up the ramp here, Tropical Sacrifice does have some defensive properties. In fact, it is ByuN going to take the engagement with his upgrade lead still intact. Did he read that? Did he actually do it correctly? It seems like I think it's a good enough fight, but it actually maybe wasn't as good as he was hoping for.
I think it's fine because with less Marines, it's very unlikely GuMiho can get a bust up a ramp into the few siege tanks, right? So it maybe wasn't a good marine-on-marine fight, but for the situation of or the state of the game, it might have actually been okay. Obviously, GuMiho is seen pretty much this entire time to defense towers. There's no Ravens to disable tanks, so I think ByuN says, yeah, if the Marines trade out, I'm kind of okay here. We'll see if that continues to be true as Libs are going across the map to obviously harass. That's brilliant, but got to be really careful right now. There is air control actually on the side of GuMiho. Those few Vikings doing a lot for him.
Oh, no.
As here are the Liberators. He's sending one to the main, which is not got any SCVs in, but is at least going to slow down mining, and that is very... Yeah, ByuN, you're in a bit of a better position than you thought you are.
Yeah, right? Now it's going to be a revelation. So, well, he might be able to move that. Okay, maybe not. Anyways, moving on to the first person view. GuMiho is still trying to crack up the main base, but it is still proving very, very difficult indeed. I do want to also mention that I think the 2-2 finished at the very end of that fight in the middle for GuMiho. Now it is finished also by ByuN. So we're back on even footing for the upgrades. And now it's more about, I mean, potentially Viking and Liberators, which, I mean, we had like the smallest Viking scuffle for TVT, really. And it's still kind of an issue as they both are looking for those little steps forward of the Liberators. But as GuMiho winning that currently?
Yeah, I think so.
I think he was, but that's quickly changing. Done with 2 Vikings on the way. Yeah, literally 1-1. Yeah, the Liberators have to sack themselves basically from GuMiho, which might not actually be a bad idea. 4 Liberators siege up without anything firing on them from the get-go, and it's only 1 Viking at the end. Like, that would actually be okay, but it would be a gambit. It would be like, you know, punch it, that's it, game over, in your favor or not, which I don't think GuMiho actually technically has to do. As desperate as his economy seems, I still think he has a little bit more time to actually find, you know, wait for a better engagement, hope that ByuN maybe gets overconfident even.
I mean, GuMiho's biggest issue is that he's playing to be all in right now. You know, he's not building up into anything that extends this game in his favor. This is very much so GuMiho who's wanted to go, hasn't been able to, and then still just wants to go. He's still looking for it. He could have at this point had time to go elsewhere with it. ByuN sends more Marines across the map. As long as he believes in his tank count to defend, this can be a great move, but he needs these tanks to defend. He's going to come in. The Libs are going to get siege. Tanks are going to start getting pushed back here. A couple of them going down very quickly. I mean, the tank line is deep. The Marines need to defend as much as possible. And so far, so good, as the medevacs will load up and back away, and it looks as though ByuN's defending this. This is the first time ByuN's been even on army supply or even in a lead, and he's going to start clearing out the mineral line on the other side with his drop. So it looks like ByuN is getting it done. GG from GuMiho. ByuN 3-1 advances on through now to the top 8 of TSL 9.
Yeah, well played from ByuN. A couple of crazy games indeed. A lot of things could have happened. That looked actually like the opening that GuMiho was waiting for, specifically because he was opening up an opportunity to go into the natural. I think it's why he was insistent on getting that kind of like last tank kill. That was going to be the last tank that was mostly in range of the ramp, but there was a tank in the natural, which really ruined that potential plan anyways. And even if it wasn't, he wouldn't have been able to bring his entire army into the natural. And he was, as you were saying, just constantly all in, basically. Like, he knew he had to do something, and while there was an argument about time, upgrades being even, armies being even, what he also had to do in that situation was just rally. Just hope that there's a little bit more was going to actually push him forward, which meant that ByuN, much safer with those tanks sieged up, much safer with the defender's advantage, could just send a couple of medevacs across the map and be like, yeah, what are you going to do about this? Nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, I think well played by ByuN. He checking out the replay here, seeing what went on. It was a close game, right? It was very back and forth, and there was definitely a couple of moments, and yeah, ByuN's like, oh yeah, you saw me trying to proxy you and stuff, and yeah, it definitely got very interesting. And it really could have gone GuMiho's way. ByuN's defense had to be on point. He had to buy a bit more time. He had to keep that siege tank count high. And I mean, even if GuMiho had like 2 more Vikings, he just comes forward. You can't get rid of the Liberators at all. They break a tank line, and GuMiho has like 30 more Marines to stem in with. So, yeah, absolutely huge. Yeah, ByuN just gonna really look through and figure out just what happened in this game. Always good to watch the replays you win, CG.
Yeah, of course. It's just also the game where we had GuMiho get into the main base easy as pie. It just looked so bad. But it was able to, even while panicking, I think we can say that safely with the medevacs running back and forth, we're still able to make some really good decisions. So just all kudos to ByuN. It's a good thing his TVT looks, I mean, certainly at least decent, right? His next opponent, as you have pointed out, is Maru. But honestly, with that said, decent might be the perfect word. Like, there was some problems in that TVT. A really rock-solid defensive Terran player like Maru can be. Oh, I'd be worried as ByuN fan for the next series anyways.
Absolutely. I mean, that game too, right, where you're so far ahead, you lose out, you just can't do that if you're going to beat Maru. You need to take every advantage and run with it, because even when you're ahead against Maru in TVT, he will not die.
Right.
So you got to be really, really on top of things, really ready to go. And yeah, there's ByuN packing up. I'm sure we'll hear from him in a little bit as well, as he's taking down GuMiho here. It'll be exciting to see what he's going to have to say when Ravi gets to interview him, of course. We got all the things, EG. We got analysts, we got interviews.
We have time buying, so hopefully they tell us to throw to the analysts. Yeah, now it's time to go to the analysts with TLO and Harsub.
All right, welcome to the analyst. It's not a desk, it's not a couch. Two giant chairs. Welcome to Shopify Rebellion's 2 massive chair analyst desk. I'm joined here this time by TLO. Welcome back, Dario. I'm glad you had some time. And let's just straight away hop into the first game, because I think it was relatively interesting. There we go. Beautiful stuff. So we kind of started with this weird triple cyclone push. Felt like GuMiho got caught out of position a little bit here. But he actually salvaged the situation in an okay way. He dropped out these Marines, initially maybe hoping to take an okay fight, then picked up the Cyclones, which then functioned as something as a counter-attack the moment that this ByuN push started moving across the map. Actually felt like this push had some potential, but it kind of fizzled out, and the Raven dying is obviously not ideal either.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess we can go into the next clip from here. This was a really, really cool move by GuMiho, going in with 3 Ravens, spreading them out basically across all the bases, trying to wreak havoc, creating as many auto turrets in all bases as possible. But ByuN had a relatively decent response here. Of course, there's going to be lost mining time, lots of workers being lost, but at least he ends up catching a good amount of the Ravens, and I think 2 Ravens ended up going down here. Still, ByuN, I mean GuMiho pulling ahead like crazy in supplies, so he can capitalize from the situation.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, a lot of the Ravens going down. The funny thing is that Maru actually did this against GuMiho last week in the GSL in Group C. Back then it was on Data C, and it was the first time I personally ever saw it. And in this game we saw GuMiho do it, and then straight afterwards ByuN being like, well, that looked pretty cool. Maybe I can do the same exact
everybody
trick.
thinking, wow, that's really cool.
So basically first it was GuMiho who received it and copied it immediately, and then now ByuN received it in this game. It's like, well, let me try this on. It actually worked out as well. I think he got like, what, 14 worker kills or so it is. Like, a crap ton of work kills, pretty much evening out the game once again. And most importantly, in this little clip we'll see here, it actually ends up sniping Combat Shield, which is absolutely huge in any future Marine tank engagements.
Yeah, and as far as I remember, I don't think the Combat Shield was ever remade in this game, so it had an impact throughout the entire remainder of the map.
Yeah, it starts really, really late at least, which is, yeah, kind of important. Yeah, Ravens do get away, and I think eventually they fly back in without any energy, and then the Ravens do end up dying anyway. So
yeah, it's always so sad seeing in TVT when Ravens just are absolutely thrown away, because they're actually really pretty much the most important unit in the game. By the way, we also have a true and false segment hanging on this series as well. I'm not sure what the Raven count ended up being, but we can look at that later.
Yeah. This was a relatively cool move out of ByuN. He kind of zones out GuMiho's army away from the 3rd base. Then the moment that ByuN realizes that he can't win this fight when GuMiho returns, he decides to just focus completely on taking out as many SCVs as possible. So rather than saying, hey, I want to save my tanks, maybe take an okay engagement, he realizes that's not possible, takes out all the SCVs, and then just lifts up, and later on uses these medevacts for a bit of a counterattack. GuMiho at this point is pretty much forced into an all-in. And from here on out, yeah, he needs to kill his opponent, and ByuN puts up one hell of a defense.
Yeah, it's a really smart choice, because losing the tanks, obviously, it becomes very attractive for GuMiho to attack. He's a little desperate, he lost SCV, so then going even for one more drop here is, I think, really putting GuMiho between, what is it, a rock and a hard place. And basically, it's a perfect finisher for this series. Yeah. So you can see GuMiho is forced on the minimap. You can pay attention, forced pushing into that 4th base, but you know, worker count is down to 34, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah. Some nice micro, of course, out of ByuN, but yeah, game pretty much ends here. Second map was Data C. We could load into that. There we go. And there we actually had something somewhat interesting in the opening phase, because we saw GuMiho open up with a 1 gas expand without an SCV scout. And ByuN tries to deal some damage with that initial Reaper, but just loses it straight up against the initial 3 Marines that were waiting on the high ground. And with that, you pretty much lose all aggressive potential that you have in the entire game. And as a result, GuMiho just kind of gets away with it.
Yeah, it feels so scary as Terran when you lose your ability to scout as well. Because Terran always tries to basically be aggressive while scouting at the same time. And often the scouting segment of it is actually the more important part of it. The aggression is often just a little bit of a bonus. Like, you're happy if you do a little bit of damage, but at least if you know what's going on, that's the most important. A little bit of a nice move there, but now this drop comes in and was basically completely undetected and could also just go across the map.
Yeah, and the Hellions in the natural are, of course, a great bonus as well. Behind all of this, on the minimap, we can see GuMiho actually getting a third command center before his opponent as well. So ByuN just way down in supply at this point. Feels like he's in a pretty bad situation, just downing workers, down a base. The E-base come out way faster for GuMiho. The extra barracks get constructed quicker as well. The overall fantastic situation for GuMiho in this game. The kind of funny thing which happens during all of this, or in the next 2 minutes, is that GuMiho decides to completely cut workers at 55 for almost 2 minutes, and ByuN catches up back into the game, kind of stabilizing and actually even pulling ahead until pretty much this move, right? We have this drop and the tank siege. This planetary just gets taken out. There was no sensor tower at the fourth base, and we were lacking some sensor towers in this series overall. A very chaotic series, I would say. Very high medevac counts, almost no Vikings, and yeah, Ravens just being sacrificed left, right, and center.
You almost want to make the argument that the game is better if there's no sensor towers.
Yeah. Or Vikings in that, for all I care, yeah. Seems like the games were extremely high paced, very interesting to watch. And yeah, just constant big doom drops into the main base. Here ByuN gets cut out of position a little bit and tries to make a defense happen. But yeah, it's just really, really cool to see both players not wanting to rely too much on Vikings and sensor towers.
Yeah, absolutely. Very dynamic TVT, and eventually GuMiho manages to push ahead here. Really, the advantage of taking out that fourth base got him into position where he had a superior unit count. And it's all about positioning in TVT. It's really tricky once your opponent starts finding these gaps. Yeah, definitely great start for Shopify Rebellion. We're here at the Shopify Rebellion analyst desk at the Shopify TSL 9, with Shopify Harstem and analyzing Shopify ByuN.
Yeah, definitely. And do you still want to go back into the Shopify third match as well?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, let's go back into the third map, because the third map is actually somewhat interesting. Once again, GuMiho opted for the same build order as in game number 2, and whether ByuN knew that this was going to happen or if this was map prepared, I don't know. But he went for a second Rex proxy. GuMiho did end up scouting, but of course can't scout the Rex on the map to represent the main base, and pretty much end the game here. This is pretty much a build order win. And this could have been a response to what we saw in the game before, and once again could have also just been map prepared. It's very difficult to look in the head of the players. I tried to use my magic powers earlier and just intensely staring at ByuN, and he just looked a little bit freaked out after I did it, so I stopped doing it.
Please don't. Yeah, we'll find out maybe in the interview what was going through the head of the players here. Obviously, that's always one of the most interesting aspects of StarCraft, that what is pre-prepared, what is a spontaneous adjustment to the game, and especially mirror matchups. That's kind of the most interesting part of that, is that because build orders and mind games are so important there.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, this was of course a little bit awkward on the fourth map here, with both SCVs meeting in the middle, and both players also returning back home. GuMiho eventually sends the SCV back across to go for a scout, but it's just a really, really awkward interaction there in the early game.
Yeah, absolutely, and it actually led to a weird situation where GuMiho ended up making 2 barracks and then 1 barracks. Not a whole lot happened in this game until we finally had this giant doom drop here by GuMiho, which puts him in a position where you almost feel like ByuN has no way of winning this game, taking out the third base, taking out a lot of mining, and obviously attacking into tanks is always going to be cost inefficient. At the same time, if you pay attention to the minimap, we have ByuN with 3 Medivacs across the map, and they're kind of just going back and forth, trying to do some damage, but he's not really finding any damage, being really hesitant. So from here, I really favored GuMiho, but eventually ByuN manages to get the little bit of damage done, prevents GuMiho from mining on the third base, and cleans up this doom drop here, and putting him actually in an okay position.
Yeah, and eventually, of course, once he gets that third command center snipe a little bit later on, that really puts him in a very solid position. This also looks scary for GuMiho here for a second. You're like, well, maybe one tank is slightly more forward, but not quite the case. GuMiho here does get cleaned up by ByuN eventually, something that I didn't quite think was possible. And then eventually a third CC gets sniped. And It's just really fun to see these very dynamic games. Here, this was just a pretty fun moment, in my opinion. It just shows how chaotic the game really was, because you see the Liberator Siege up here at the third, and I don't think ByuN quite realized there was no main base command center anymore. Sieges up the lip over there. It's like, all right, time to take out some SCVs.
Yeah. Oh, that's not even a base.
Yeah. It's like one SCV still coming back, taking some gas from the one refinery because he didn't get the memo. Yeah, it's just overall super fun gameplay. Here, this is also kind of interesting. GuMiho really felt a lot of pressure to attack into this, despite having the tools to kind of wait out ByuN a little bit. I mean, you have the Liberators, you have a similar or at least maybe even superior tank count. He could have just leapfrogged forward and then cut off the natural in a way.
Yeah, absolutely. He had position on the ramp, so he could also have dropped all his Marine right into the natural. So it kind of just showed how chaotic this game was, because then it becomes really difficult to read for either of the gamer, and big mistakes like that happen.
Yeah, definitely. Of course, you still had that Marine drop as well coming in out of ByuN into the third base, so it could be that GuMiho saw that, felt a little bit pressured there. It was like, I need to go right now. But I mean, that third base is gone anyway at that point. It's not if you lose 30 Marines, all of a sudden your third gets to stay alive. So yeah, it's some suboptimal decisions being made there in those games, but that's always going to be the case when you have two players that don't really have a hotkey for Vikings or for the sensor tower, for turrets, for all that matters.
Yeah.
I'm really curious what's going to happen when ByuN plays against Maru, because Maru is basically the opposite. Maru, the game starts for him once the clock is like 25 or so. Yeah. It's like 15 sensor towers, infinite orbital commands.
And of course, Maru just saw that series. Obviously, he's extremely familiar with ByuN's playstyle anyway. They've met many times, so it's going to be a very different series, I believe.
Yeah, I think so too. I do believe we have an interview ready with Ravi. So Ravi, take it away.
Thank you so much, Kevin and Dario. We are here now with the winner of that last series, ByuN. I want to just say congratulations, ByuN. Now, did hear a story actually from Wax Angel who was saying that GuMiho was staying at your place. So are you guys good friends? How did it feel to have to knock out one of your friends, I guess, at the event?
네, 먼저 승리 축하하고요. 그 경기하기 전에 얘기하셨잖아요. 그 고병재 선수가 한국 오기 전에 본인이 집에서 자고 갔다고. 그래서 원래 친한 사이였나요? 그리고 그때 경기 얘기 좀 했었나요? 경기하기 전에?
일단은 저랑 병재 형이 자유의 날개 때부터 같이 했던 사이기 때문에 같은 팀은 아니었어도 어느 정도 친분이 있거든요. 그래서 경기 아무래도 병재 형이 좀 멀리 살다 보니까 제가 경기장 근처에 살거든요. 그래서 저희 집에서 자고 가고 이런 경우가 자주 있어요. 그래서 그때마다 올 때마다 게임 얘기를 좀 많이 하는 편이에요. 병재 형이 워낙 게임 개념이 되게 좋아가지고 그렇게 많이 하는 편이에요.
이번 경기 내용은 얘기 안 했어요?
좀 심리전이 있긴 했어요. 근데 서로 연습을 안 한다 했는데 오늘 펼쳐진 경기를 보니까 서로 평소에 안 쓰던 빌드만 꺼내가지고 얼마나 생각이 많았으면 이렇게 했는지 연습 서로 열심히 한 것 같아요.
Okay, yeah, he says that, these players, they're both veterans from Wings of Liberty. So anyone from back in that time, even if you're not on the same team, you end up being close. So GuMiho, he actually lives he lives far away. He doesn't live near Seoul. So sometimes when he comes to play GSL games, he'll stay over at his place, at ByuN's place, and they'll talk about the games and all that. They'll talk some strategy. And this time around, there were some mind games going on. Both of them telling each other, "Hey, we're not going to practice." And GuMiho just brought out stuff that he'd never seen before. So yeah, it seems like GuMiho was pretty desperate to win there.
That's great to hear. And speaking of the mind games, I think game number 3, you end up going for the proxy 1-Rex Reaper. What was going through your mind? What was the reason why you decided to go for that proxy? And was it like a reaction to something that he had done in the previous game? Was it something you just had pre-planned before the series started? What kind of was the decision?
You mean Stargazers or
yes, Stargazers.
Okay. Yeah. 네, 스타게이저스에서 그 전진 병영 투병을 사셨잖아요. 그래서 그거는 어떤 이유로 때문에 쓴 건가요? 상대방의 전략을 보고 좀 맞춘 건가요? 아니면 그냥 상대방의 전략과 상관없이 쓰려고 했던 건가요?
이거는 스타게이저스 하기 전에 딱 3경기 시작하기 전에 좀 고민을 많이 했어요. 이거는 어제 준비한 빌드긴 한데 생각보다 결과가 좀 안 좋더라고요. 그래서 1, 2경기 컨트롤 컨디션 보고 한번 시도해봐야겠다 했는데 오늘 생각보다 게임이 잘 돼가지고 한번 시도해봤어요. 근데 이 빌드가 제가 시전하는 사람만 컨트롤을 좀 완벽하게 하면 막는 입장에서는 막기가 좀 불가능하거든요. 그래서 그걸 좀 노리긴 했는데 병재 형이 제가 생각지도 않은 되게 부유한 빌드를 써가지고 그렇게 쉽게 끝난 것 같아요. 원래는 부유하게 가지 않아도 컨트롤을 잘 한다면 완벽하게 한다면 이게 기회가 있는 빌드인데 워낙에 부유하게 해서 이렇게 쉽게 끝난 것 같아요.
Yeah, he says that it wasn't really an adjustment he made based on what he saw from GuMiho. It was actually something that he had been preparing before. He was thinking, I want to pull this out on Stargazers. And actually, it didn't go well in practice, so he's sort of worried about whether he should use it or not. But playing today, he felt that his micro was going pretty well, so he decided to go for it because it's the kind of build where as long as you micro really well, you have a really high chance of winning. And on top of that, GuMiho, he went for the greedy build. He didn't even expect that. So because GuMiho went for the greedy build, it was just a hard counter, so he went pretty easily there.
Got it. Well, thank you so much, ByuN. Congratulations again on advancing on out really, really fast because we do actually, we're already being told we have to move on quickly. But how do you feel about facing off versus Maru? Just really quick.
그냥 조성주 선수와는 그 소감 짧게 한마디 해주세요.
GG.
I think even I could understand that one. So thank you so much. Congratulations again, ByuN. Guys, we're going to be heading to a short break before we get ready for the next series. It's one that you do not want to miss. So don't go anywhere. You're watching Shopify TSL 9.